Do you know what your purpose is? Have you found your purpose, or are you looking for your purpose? Purpose is really life changing when we find it, but it can be very elusive and confusing. A lot of people can get stuck, like wondering specifically what they're meant to do, and then just get really frustrated. So, in this video, I'm going to help explain what purpose is and what you can do to find it. My name's Adam. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you need a little help with some energy clearing, you can download my free energy clearing in the description below. So for so many years, I was looking for my purpose. I was just wanting to find my purpose, as if there was one exact thing that I was going to be doing, and someone, like some angel from heaven, was going to come down and just give me this blueprint of like exactly what it was, what I needed to do each day, like what I was going to feel, what every little detail that was going to happen along my path. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. We all wish it was, or we think we wish it was. The reason we want it to be like that is because we want no uncertainty. We think we want no uncertainty. We don't want any confusion. We don't want to have to sit and not know, because we want to have control over our lives because it makes us feel more safe. The thing though is, this isn't how purpose works. It's not how it's meant to work. It wouldn't even be fulfilling if it did work this way. When we begin to wake up spiritually, go through a healing process, we can start to either really focus on purpose or feel like something's missing and we're just stuck in trauma. Okay? It can be very frustrating because for a number of years, your purpose actually is to heal. So if you're stuck just in these healing cycles, you may be right on the mark of your purpose. Sometimes what we tend to look for is the outward expression of our purpose, because we're so used to having goals and needing to accomplish things that when we're sort of healing and learning about ourselves, which is a phase of our awakening, we feel like we're lost. You're not. Okay. But to help clarify this a bit, we all have the same primary purpose on some level. It's really to wake up spiritually, which is also involves healing, because healing are all the parts of us that are wounded, that are in the way of us fully waking up to our true nature. It's to heal, to wake up, and to just become the best version of ourselves according to what it is we truly love and want to do. It's to become spiritually, vibrationally, energetically, mentally, emotionally, and physically sovereign, which is freedom. It's true freedom. It's freedom on all levels. We're all looking for that. Now, that will express itself outwardly in different ways for each of us, because even though we're all one at the core, we're also our own unique individual expression of the one. We have different things that we like. We have different callings, okay? But when we are looking for this sort of more finite, specific occupation or task-related expression of our purpose, and we can't find it, we feel like we don't have one because we're looking at the wrong thing. Now, there will be outward expressions, but the second portion of your purpose is very malleable. It's very flexible. It kind of changes as you go. Sometimes there may be a clear vision and it involves an occupation or a calling that stays very consistent for you. For most people, it kind of bounces all over the place. And when this happens, we can feel very lost. Now, it's very important to have goals, because as humans, we are meant to be in motion. We're meant to have some form of movement. If we're not moving forward on some level, we tend to stagnate and move backwards. And if you're stagnating, you're kind of moving backwards. But forward doesn't have to be this all-out, like, full force, full steam ahead thing, I'm going to conquer the world. Like learning about yourself, journaling, meditating, healing, spending time in nature, depending upon where you are, these can all be forward motions. If you've been in trauma your whole life, these are forward motions. They're more passive, sort of yin motions. They're not expressive, outward, like more masculine, yang motions, but they're motions. They're actions. Okay? So what happens a lot of times is we start to look for the sort of physical, occupational expression of our purpose. And part of this is because we want to have meaning, and the other part of it is because we're stuck in survival and we want to make money. Okay? But when we do this, what can happen is we'll feel called to something, and then it'll go away. We'll feel like called to take a class in something, and then like 6 weeks into it or 4 weeks into it, it'll disappear. And we will think that that's because there's something wrong. Now, why does this happen? Well, it could be because there's fear or resistance. If you're really being called towards something that you really deeply want to do, and as soon as you start it, like you lose interest, it could be because you've hit a layer of apathy, you've hit a layer of fear, and you want to check in with yourself, and you may need to just keep going. But sometimes, and a lot of times, it's because for two other reasons. One, it's because you got what you needed from that particular thing. We tend to think that I'm going to do this, and that's going to lead to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down the road to like climbing the top of this particular mountain. It doesn't work that way. Like, just to give you a personal example, I felt called at times in my life to read 6 or 7 or 8 books by a particular author. I've also felt called, very deeply called, to buy a book off of Amazon from a particular author. I'll get the book, I'll read 1 chapter, and then I'm not interested in it anymore. And that's because all I needed was that chapter. I just needed the energy from that chapter. And with some of those books, I never read them again. And with some of those books, 4 years later, I'll pick it up and read the rest of it. And I'll understand, oh, I wasn't ready for any of this back then, but I am now. Things fluctuate. They change. So just understand that, you might take a class and then not be interested in that topic anymore. You integrated or learned or developed whatever it was that you needed from it, and so you now don't need that anymore, and you will be called to something else. Okay? Another part of why we can lose interest, and this goes back to how important it is to heal, is because basically everybody on this planet, like I said, that we're looking for sovereignty and we're looking for our free will, and we've basically had none of it. And when you don't have your sovereignty or free will, or you have it stomped out of you as children by your parents, by your family, by the system, by whatever, you won't have a lot of life force. You won't have a lot of vitality. So you might feel called to something, and then you can only go one step down that path because you don't have the essence to go any further yet. So you need to stop and do, a little more healing on your nervous system. What happens is, if we are not allowed to get our wants, our desires, or our needs met as children, and on some level, we all have this issue, we don't have any motivation, because motivation comes from believing that your desires, wants, and needs can be met. If you don't think they can be, you won't have any drive to go forward, because why would you? You're doomed. Whatever you do is not going to work. There's going to be literally no motivation. One of the worst belief systems in the world is, that in order to be spiritual, you have to have no desire. It's like, you can't. There's no such thing as no desire. Okay? So, in order to start to build your life force or your vitality, it comes first to healing, because you need to heal the wounds that are not allowing you to feel what it is you want to do. You can't figure out what you want to do from your mind, and this is the mistake that we all make. We can't feel the essence, the calling, the joy, or the happiness, or the playfulness that would lead us to where we want to go, because it was stomped out of us, and we sit there with all of these blocks and stagnant energy trying to go, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And we never get an answer, and the mind will never figure it out, ever. Never. So if you can't feel a visceral calling, then your purpose is to heal more. It's to find where those blocks are so you can unlock that sort of energy. We're all guided to have this immense passion to create anything, and a lot of us can't feel passion for a while. So just look to curiosity. Is there anything that you're curious about? Curiosity is a lot easier on the nervous system. Like when you're super healthy and vital, you'll feel passion. But if you're not, the energy of passion will just break you. You can't hold it. You're not ready for it, and it's okay. So just look to like nurture that feeling of like, what do I feel called to? And make it very small. Very, very small. We always go to like, I have to be, the most famous doctor in the whole world and, cure all these different diseases. And that just overloads the body with all this pressure, because that's not one step. That's like 8 million steps, and you can't process that right now. So you want to get down to just nurturing your own will and life force by very gently feeling what you feel called to in each moment. And it can just be going and getting coffee at a coffee shop. I built my will for years by basically doing shit according to like how our civilization would perceive it, but it was enormous. I just did little things I felt called to in the moment, and eventually that energy builds. But just know that that's part of your purpose, because that's part of your awakening. That's part of your healing. And at some point, because things happen in phases, when you've healed enough and you have enough life force, that will then start calling you to more specific things that will go further down a particular path. But always be careful of letting the mind conceive of this means this and this and this and this. Go in the moment. All you really need to know is what you feel called to in the moment. Yes, it's good to have a vision. Yes, it's good to write out action steps. But the action steps should be like, what do I need to do today? And maybe within the next week or two. Okay? Most steps are for later, and we try to process all the steps right now, and our body just goes haywire. Because the human mind isn't meant to make decisions. It's not. It's meant to analyze and gather and construct information. The intuition, which comes from getting your needs and desires like fulfilled, that's how you get connect to the intuition through the life force. That's what's supposed to make the decisions, through the feeling. If you don't have the feeling, your mind will never know. And this is a really big, important thing, because when you start to there is like a shift when you find your outward expression of a purpose. But if you're not there, you're not there, and you can't force it. Forcing does nothing except shut down your will more, because being forced to work, being forced to go to school, being forced to live in many of the ways that we have is what broke the will to begin with, because there was no free will choice in it. The way we get our will back is to take ownership of the fact that that was the past, this is now, and in this moment, what can I choose based on what I feel I want to do? And yeah, you can't always do exactly what you want to do all the time. I get it. But you do it little by little by little until you kind of build that muscle. And that will really connect you to all aspects of your purpose. But know that it's basically to become who you're meant to be, and the rest is fluid. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment below if this inspired you, if you had any revelations or breakthroughs or thoughts on this. I'm coming out with an ebook very, very, very soon on how to drastically change the course of your life. Thank you so much for watching the video, if you did. And other than that, I look forward to next time. Bye-bye.